My name is Eboni Harris. I'm a relationship therapist here in Houston, Texas. And today I'm just going to talk about 5 mistakes that we make in arguments. A lot of times we fight and we, want to state our points, and there's nothing wrong with arguments or conflict. It's usually the way that we argue that causes the issue. So I wanted to talk about the top 5 things I see as mistakes that we make in arguments a lot. Again, when we talk about fighting, I know a lot of people think they like to brag. So I do a lot of premarital counseling, and I love when couples come in and say we haven't fought. We've been together for 2 years and we haven't fought. To me, that's a bigger issue than if you fight every day. If you don't fight for 2 years, I see that as an issue, because how do you know how this person is going to handle conflict within the relationship? So there's nothing wrong with fighting. There's nothing wrong with bringing up the issues that you have. You should do those things. The issue comes in the way that you fight, the way that you communicate, and how detrimental that can be for your relationship. So I'm going to go through these 5 mistakes that we make. So the first one is trying to win. I feel like we go into relationships, or we go into disagreements with our partners because we trying to win the argument. Basically, we're trying to figure out, what can I say and what could I do to make sure that he sees or she sees that I'm right. And that's just not the way it should be. Like, you do not need to go into an argument trying to win. You should go into an argument trying to fix the problem. You should go into an argument trying to compromise and collaborate and figure out a way to make this work for both of you guys. It's not about who won. It's not about who had the best comeback or the best anything. Like, that has nothing to do with anything. So we can get to the road of solutions and resolving the issue very different ways. So if you're going to your significant other to talk about, what issue you've had, give them an opportunity to respond. Don't tell them what they should do or how they should do it. Give them an opportunity to respond and have a discussion about what needs to happen to make this better. Is not taking a break. So many times we get so wrapped up in the conversation and we don't want to leave anything unturned. We want to make sure we resolve it tonight. So if you've been arguing for a long period of time, you're tired, you're emotionally spent. Sometimes you're both on an emotional high, which can be an issue. If your emotions are way up here, then your intelligence is down here. So it's hard to communicate during those moments. Also, you're barely listening. Once you kind of you become fatigued, and you kind of lose that oomph, I guess, I don't know what to call it, but once you lose what you had in the beginning, that momentum, there are times it's a lot of times you need to take a break, but sometimes it's okay to say, okay, we're not getting anywhere right now. Let's take a break. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's, think about it. And some people just need that just to get their mind together. I know me personally, I'm a person, if I get really upset, I have a hard time putting my sentences together. So how am I going to communicate my issues? How am I going to talk about solutions if I can't think straight because I'm so emotional at this point? So I need to take a break. I need to take 5-10 minutes, calm myself down, do some self-soothing, think about solutions for the issue, think about what I feel like I need to say, and then come back and talk about it. The biggest anxiety a lot of times is that people assume that you're not going to come back. So they get nervous that if we don't resolve it right now, we're never going to talk about it again. So if you're somebody that needs a break, let your partner know, but you have to make sure that you come back to talk about it. And if you're somebody that wants to get everything out and get it resolved as soon as possible, see the benefits of having those breaks. See how much the conversation shifts once you take a break, when everybody is on that emotional high. Once they've calmed down, watch what happens next. Watch how we're able to communicate better, because neither one of us are screaming or yelling or trying to talk over each other to get our points across. Avalanching is just like how you see the avalanche go down the hill. And avalanche is when you start with one topic and then you keep adding topics to that, right? Like, so I'm going to start because I'm upset that you're late to dinner. And if you ever watch any of my scopes or see me anywhere, I always talk about this late to dinner thing because I think it's just the easiest thing. But I'm going to start because I want to address the fact that you were late to dinner and we talked about this and you didn't tell me what happened, blah, blah, blah. So as we start to make some headway in that, now I'm going to bring up the last 3 times you were late to dinner. And also, I'm going to bring up the other time when you relate to the kids' play. And also, I'm going to bring up that time I didn't say anything, when your mom complained to me about you being late. You keep adding and adding and adding, and that's not helping the situation. You need to address the situation at hand at that time and focus on that. There's no need to try to prove how right you are by adding things to the situation. Or another reason people avalanche is because we don't like to disrupt when things are positive. So if we're having a good day, I'm not going to bring up the fact that I got upset earlier today because everything's going well. Or if we're having a good week, I don't want to talk about something that could mess this up. We have a good flow going. But because of that, as soon as there is a sign of conflict and as soon as I've said, okay, I need to talk about this thing, I'm going to bring up everything from the past 30 days just because this is my moment. Like, we're already having a bad day. Let's just talk about it all. And that's not fair to your significant other. And it's not fair to you because there's no way that you're going to be able to address everything in that moment. Like, you really need to kind of take time, get yourself together and kind of recharge and things like that, because arguments and disagreements and all of those, it takes a lot out of you. And so you want to address 6 things all in one sitting. That's a lot. That is a lot. So it's important that you don't stack things up. If you have things you need to address them when they happen. It's always best when you address them like pretty soon after something has happened. It's really good to go ahead and address it then. Even if you're not ready to do it that day, because I understand sometimes you need some time to get yourself together. You need to make sure you have your thoughts together. Maybe you need to make sure that it's not something, maybe it's something that you don't feel like needs to be addressed necessarily. But waiting 3 weeks and piling everything on is not fair, and that's not going to help resolve anything. And that's going to make it even more difficult when you want to address things in the future, because your significant other is thinking, as soon as she says something to me with a complaint, we're going to sit here for 3 hours because now I have to hear everything she has to complain about. So that's why we have that negative stigma that goes with, can we talk, or we need to talk. That's why it's always this like, oh, what does that mean? Because we're so used to just, once we say we need to talk about everything. And we shouldn't do that. Don't. Okay, number 4 is one that I think is very, very detrimental, and it happens a lot. It's attacking back. And I said attacking back because I don't feel like people necessarily attack the attacks don't come from nowhere. There is something that leads to that attack. Now, is that something a trigger that maybe that person didn't mean to hit? Is that something your own personal issues, or is that something an accident? Maybe your significant other said something that, they didn't mean to say, or they said it the wrong way and you didn't get clarification, you just reacted. Attacking back is normally we attack because we feel attacked. We attack because they said something that hurt us. Imagine if you're walking down the street and somebody steps on your toe. Initially you're like pissed, and like, even if it was an accident, if they don't apologize, if they don't address it, if they don't, your feeling is like, I want to step on their toes, and maybe I want to step on both of their toes so they can really understand it. That's what happens in arguments. Somebody says something to you that maybe they didn't mean to say, or maybe they said it the wrong way, or maybe it came out the wrong way, or maybe they didn't know it was going to cause as big of an issue, but you have an emotional reaction to it. And if they don't address it, if they don't apologize for it, your reaction is, I need to show you how much you hurt me and maybe hurt you a little bit more. That is not okay. If somebody does something that you feel is an attack, address that. Don't attack back. Because that goes into saying hurtful things. That goes into everybody that has been in a relationship probably for more than 6 months knows what those things are that you can say to get that other person to either feel hurt, feel pain, stop talking. You know what those are because you know your significant others. Don't use those. Do not use those things in your arguments. It's not necessary. All it does, it causes contempt, which is the worst thing you could do to your relationship. It causes distrust because I can't talk to you I can't tell you certain things because I know that in the minute that you feel like you are losing the argument, you're going to throw that back at me, so it really, really damages the relationship. So stop attacking back. If you feel attacked, if you feel hurt, address that. Don't feel like, okay, I need to get them back, or I need to show them that I have something against them. Do not do that. Switching spotlight. So let's say I'll come to you because I have an issue with you being late for dinner. Favorite thing. And after I address it a little bit, you get defensive and then you start telling me what I did wrong that day. That's not fair. Just because I'm addressing an issue that I have does not mean that that's your opportunity to switch the spotlight to yourself and tell me what your problem is with me. If you have an issue with me, we can talk about it and we can address it. But again, it's just like what I said earlier about avalanching. Like, people, once you get into that moment of we're talking about our issues or we're talking about a problem, we're like, okay, this is the moment. I couldn't talk about it last week, so I'm going to bring it all up now. No, it's not. It's not the moment. Like, resolve one thing before you move into something else. And the bigger issue with that one is that it always seems to come once the other person starts getting defensive. So if I hear something negative about myself, I don't want to really address that. I want to point out what you've done and what I've seen from you as negative behavior. And so again, these are not fair behaviors. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to your partner, and it's not fair to your relationship. There are going to be issues. You're going to get on each other's nerves. Let's just start there. Like, you're going to get on each other's nerves. It's impossible to live with somebody, to be in a relationship long term, to be around someone for a long time, even if you're around somebody for 3 or 4 hours without them doing one thing that's like, oh, really? So that's expected, that you're going to get on each other's nerves. It's also expected that y'all are two very different people, and y'all are going to have different expectations of what the relationship is, as well as different how things get done. So we're going to disagree. We're going to have conflicts. Some things are important to me that may not be important to you. There's so many reasons why we have conflicts, and there's nothing wrong with addressing them. But trying to win every argument, not taking a break when it's clear that you need one, avalanching the topics, attacking back, and switching the spotlights, those are horrible habits to get into, and those are the things that you're doing wrong in your relationships and in your arguments. So just in the future, be aware of that. I always say the first thing you need to do is be aware. Even if you don't fix it in the first argument, if afterwards you can say, I shouldn't have did that. That was me avalanching. Or I shouldn't have did that. You wanted to talk to me and I took over the conversation complaining about you. That's the first step. Now, of course, we want to move forward and we want it to be, okay, next time don't do that. But start paying attention to how you argue and which of these habits you have and which of these mistakes you do in your relationships. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for the people that were here for the live view. Thank you for the replay viewers. I appreciate you as well. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.